Welcome back to Carolina Saltwater Living. They say what you're doing on New Year's Day is what you're going to be doing all year, right?
Yep.
So we're fishing. And I got some other things planned too. What do you think?
Sounds good.
Think of some good things.
Yeah.
Things that I like to do. Guys, thanks for stopping in. We're going to fish a little bit and we're going to put together a New Year's Day supper for you guys. Something that is probably a staple here in the South. Thanks for being here. Let's see if we can catch a fish or two. Probably a whiting or probably nothing. So look here and let's tell everybody, I know it's not Thanksgiving, but let's kind of treat it like that. What are you thankful for this first day of the new year? What are you thankful for?
Everything.
Everything.
Being at the beach, sunshine, your health, our subscribers, everything.
Everything.
Yep.
So I'll tell you what I'm thankful for. The breath of life. I am so thankful for the breath of life. And for, hold on Lisa, you got to look through that little thing as you're filming me.
Well, I'm trying to watch my line here.
If anybody wants to volunteer to be a full-time camera person for us, just let us know. I'm here.
Yeah, please.
I'm thankful for the breath of life. I'm thankful for this wonderful ocean, the healing qualities of the water. For family, y'all. All of my family, every single family member. I'm thankful for everybody. And friends, you guys that watch us, even if you haven't subscribed, you're here right now, and we're thankful for that. Hopefully we'll get a fish on. Tide's changing, it's going out. Should be a slack tide here in probably an hour or so. And that's when we seem to be catching whiting. So we'll see if we can get one on the hook today. Give it a try, maybe it's on there. That was a good bite. I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah?
I don't know.
Well, pull it in. We'll see if there's anything on it. Good time to check the bait anyways.
It was a good bite. Oh, I do have a
You
fish.
do have a fish. Bring that fish in.
I didn't just come off.
Bring that fish in here. Is it something we can eat? Looks like it. Bring it on in. Come on. There you go. The good white.
Good.
All right, you caught supper.
Yeah.
Not for tonight, but for
And I
another day.
finally am above the littlest fish award.
Yep, that's a good
So-
one. That's a good eating size, about
Yep.
probably 12 inches or so. We'll take it.
Yep.
So most of the fishing we've been doing lately has been at low tide, or falling tide, slack tide, and then a little bit of incoming. It seems to have been the best for us. But also, what brings anglers out brings adventure seekers. And I don't know if you can see way out yonder, but it's about 300 to 400 yards away, and there's a sandbar. Now to get to it, you have to traverse about knee-deep water. Unfortunately, the tide is unpredictable. Tide charts, tide tables are estimates of what the tide is going to do. I have seen the incoming tide immediately as soon as the low tide seems to stall, no slack tide whatsoever, and a high tide rolling back in. And that's what makes me nervous when I see folks, young folks, going out that far. Hopefully they'll be fine. I'm sure that they will. And part of me wants to just keep my eye out there in case somebody struggles, so I can make that phone call nobody wants to have to make. But just be careful when you're going to come and holiday for the weekend, that you don't end up getting out doing something that bites you in the rear. So for this New Year's, I am doing something just a little bit different. Traditionally, down here in the South growing up, we would have either neck bone or hog jows for New Year's Day. I'm doing almost a 10-ounce bone-in pork chop, because that's enough for Lisa and I, for two people, to have a modest meal, besides all the sides that are actually going into this. And I'm going to do something extra different this time. Every side is going to have a pork component to it. So we're going to pork it up today. But to start with, and I'm not putting this in the oven, I'm not going to tell you exactly what I'm doing with this pork chop. But what we're doing right now is just going to marinate it. And I am using a staple around here, Carolina Treat. It's a cooking barbecue sauce. Whether you put it on the grill, in the oven, in the pan, whatever you do, You can cook with it, and it just imparts some great flavors. So we're going to marinate this pork chop with just a little bit of this sauce. Rub it all around your pork chop real good in the same vacuum seal bag that it was in. We're going to put it back in the fridge, and it's going to marinate for about 4 hours before we do our final cooking preparation. So there's some foods that are traditionally eaten on New Year's Day, and I had really forgotten the meaning behind them all, or the superstition, I guess. Number one is pork, and that's supposed to be for progress. I had to do a little Googling here to figure it all out. Progress, so we're putting pork in everything that we're eating today. Grapes, let's see, that's something to give you 12 months of good luck. Well, we don't have any grapes, but we've got some raisins. So they're condensed, but I don't know that we're actually going to eat raisins today. Let's see, pomegranates, that's supposed to be for fertility. Don't need that. We've already got one in college. Let's see. Fish, not eating any fish today, but we did catch fish. Lisa did this morning. And that's supposed to be for, let's see. I'm not really sure. You can go read that one yourself. Something Asian. Noodles and rice, another Asian dish. Noodles, long noodles. Fertility and wealth. Let's see, cakes. We don't have any cakes today either. That's supposed to bring good luck. No cakes. Black-eyed peas. While I do like them, we're eating field peas. Same kind of concept. Let's see, field peas. What are they good for? Fortune. We're eating a hearty helping of field peas with some bacon ends in it. Collard greens, always got that, y'all. Symbolizes monetary abundance in the new year. Gonna put pork in that too. Let's see, cornbread, definitely having that. Not the thick kind, doing the Eastern North Carolina style. Let's see, I'll show you that in a few minutes. And there's other dishes. You can go in here and look, just Google and you'll find all sorts of things. Let me get on to something else. I think I'll get on to these bacon ends for some collard greens. All right, next thing up, collard greens. These are frozen from last year's garden, and it's our last pack, y'all. We didn't plant any collards back in the spring because we knew that we were going to be trying to move to the beach, and here we are. Collard greens, and these are Georgia collards. I want to plant some cabbage collards this year. That's really my favorite. Burnt ends, not burnt ends, bacon ends. Everything from where we had actually processed the pigs and then did our own bacon in our own cure, smoked on our own fire. We're going to pull some of these out, and that's what you're left with. Chunks of smoked, hardwood smoked bacon, and that's going to go directly into this pot. After the pork's in the pot, it's simply, we're going to put some water over to the top of this hard block of collard because it needs to cook down a while. I didn't process these as long when we put them up, and they need to tenderize. Next up is field peas with the snaps, which is really, I don't know, I shouldn't say it's my favorite part. I think when I was a kid, it was my favorite part. Probably because when I was helping to shell these things, which wasn't that often, I said, let me take the snaps because there was no shelling involved. Put some pork in here too. Some more of these bacon ends. About that much, good handful. And these are going to go like everything else we're doing on the side, on the stove, low and slow, pretty much all afternoon. That's how you do Southern cooking. Low and slow all day long. One other thing I'm cooking, not really traditional on the list, I guess, but some okra out of last year's garden. It's green. I've got it thawing in just a little bit of water, but I'm going to do something different. I told you I was going to put pork in every component of this meal. I am going to finally chop up some of these bacon ends, and they're going to get mixed with that and some cornmeal and fried. It's going to be way better than just plain old fried okra when you put some bacon in there with it. All right, I am definitely not a recipe cook, but there is one cookbook that I could recommend to any of you out there. and it's called White Trash Cooking. And it's composed by Ernest Matthew Mickler, who's no longer living, but y'all, you can still pick this up on Amazon for like $13. And it is full of a treasure trove of southern delicacies, especially southeast, the southeast Piney Woods region of the South. But just some of the things in here that you'll hear it and you'll be like, yeah, that sounds good. Chicken fried steak, dirty rice. Let's see, just moving through here. Sweet potato pie, who doesn't like that? Yellow squash pie, I love it. Lisa hates it, but I love it. My mama makes it about once a year for me. Pecan pie, probably my absolute favorite. Just all kinds of stuff in here, taken from this guy that had I think a PhD, and he went around for a long period of time researching these delicacies from really the old South. And it's even got some pretty cool pictures in here from places that I'm sure that would look familiar to you from your childhood if you're at least my age, pushing 50 now. Well, a few more years till that. But just neat pictures all throughout this book. The way the landscape used to look many years ago. And a lot of these recipes, y'all, were born from poverty. And it's funny how those recipes, not funny, but I find it interesting how these are still my favorite types of food, even though I have eaten all types of food over the years from different countries and whatnot, different cultures, but I always come back to really some white trash cooking. Let's get back to cooking. All right, I'm fixing a side of traditional Eastern North Carolina style cornbread. It's going to be a flat, crispy cornbread that I do in the oven. I've got a cast iron pan with a little olive oil heating up to 450 degrees in there now. And instead of using cracklings, which is what I was going to use, I decided to just use some more of the bacon ends. I've chopped them up real fine. That fat's going to melt down in this cornbread at that high heat as it's cooking, but I'm using house Altry, plain, fine, white cornmeal, and I don't even think, y'all, that house Altry makes it anymore. But there's some other brands that do. I just take, for this the two of us, I'm going to take just a little over probably a cup of cornmeal, and into that cornmeal we're going to add our bacon ends that have been chopped up. To that we're going to add a good pinch of salt, a good healthy pinch of salt, even though there is some salt in that bacon. One more ingredient. One more ingredient, a good dose of cayenne pepper. 2 shakes to do it. This stuff's pretty stout. With a fork, give it all a good mix together. And then all we're going to do is add enough water to make it loose enough to pour basically like a pancake batter. You're not going to get this too runny unless you just put tons of water in there. Whisk it together good with a fork. It's going to absorb this water. And so you're not going to put it in the cast iron right away. You're going to let it sit on the counter for about 5 minutes. And as it absorbs that water, you will know if you need to add more water or not. Because if you put it in there too thick, you're going to get a dense cornbread. And what we're looking for here is a light, crispy cornbread that has just a little bit of dents on the inside. Now into this preheated pan, going in with our mix. And take that hot screaming mix and put it back in that 450 degree oven. All right, after about 12 to 15 minutes, here's what you got. Crispy, bacony cornbread. It's going to eat kind of like a tortilla chip with a little bit of just a little bit of bite to it because it's really thin. It's less than 1/4 of an inch thin. That right there is what I call really good eats. All right, next thing is this okra with bacon. Okra and bacon. All I'm doing is putting a touch of salt in there. And we're going to go in with some more of this fine white cornmeal. The bacon already has quite a bit of seasoning in it. And I'm just stirring it into the mix. And these are going to be little crispy pork morsels along with this fried okra. You want to make sure that your okra is damp when you go to put cornmeal on it like this. If not, it won't adhere to it well. Put just a little bit more than you think you need. If not, you'll have a gummy mess. Then I just take a fork, stir it around, and get it all evenly coated. 350-degree oil straight into it with your okra. In a bowl, I have all-purpose flour, and that's it. No seasoning of any kind. Because we're going to take this pork chop that's been seasoning, marinating in Carolina Treat barbecue sauce for about 4 hours, and we're going to give it a little dredge. And then we're going to deep fry it. Should have made the theme of this video everything fried for New Year's, but no. Not everything's fried. There's a few things that aren't. But come on, it's a holiday. We're going to fry a little bit. That Carolina Treat has flour in the barbecue sauce. It's actually a cooking sauce. You can fry with it. I would make sure you don't have a really thick pork chop because you want it to cook kind of quick because there are sugars in it. But that's all you're looking for right there. A well-coated pork chop ready to go in the grease. All right, final product. Here's that thin, crispy cornbread. I grew up on that thin, crispy cornbread. Still my favorite today. Some of this bacon and okra combo. Definitely give that a try. It's very good. And we've got bacon in these snap beans, field peas. They've cooked in it all day long. About 6 hours they've been on the stove simmering, along with these collards. Smelled in your mouth tender, y'all. That's how far it's cooked down, every bit of it. And the collards, these are Georgia collards. I didn't chop them. I left them whole, because sometimes I prefer it that way. It was whole leaves. It's perfect. Absolutely. I could just eat the collards and I'd be happy. And y'all look at this crispy pork chop. Look at this, look at this. Crispy pork chop. It might be not so good for your coronary, but it's good for my mouth, my taste buds, and good for my belly. As Lisa tries to wrangle the cats over here off screen, trying to be professional here. Anyways, guys, that Carolina Treat, Try that. You will absolutely love that pork chop. Marinate it for about 4 hours in that Carolina treat, and then bread it. It's fantastic. Guys, we hope that you have a wonderful new year. We really do. And we're praying for the folks down in Louisiana that were victims of crime. Let's leave it at that. Guys, y'all have a good day. Maybe avoid really crowded places for a time. Good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise too high. We will see you on the next one.